Hello, and welcome to Fresh Blood, a podcast about killing it in the age of ageism, where we prove that new blood does not necessarily equal young blood. I'll be your host, Jolie Downs. With over 20 years of executive recruiting experience, I've learned how much we need discussions around this issue. Thank you for joining us here on Fresh Blood. I have been a recruiter for over 20 years. I love talking to people about their stories. I love hearing about their triumphs and their tribulations, everything that makes them tick. It all fascinates me. I started my own company in my 20s, and I was lucky enough to do this when I was young and bold. I have grown in my career and in my skills throughout the years, and I can say without a doubt that I am infinitely better at my job now than I was in my 20s. I am more confident, knowledgeable, and my experience gives me depth and a level of understanding that's incredibly difficult to have at a young age. Let's just say that there was a lot of faking it until you make it, if you will, back in those younger years. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. So why, I ask myself, would the reality of my personal resume with 20 plus years of experience become an actual inhibitor to me getting an interview or foot in the door with many reputable companies? Over the years, I have noticed a disturbing trend towards ageism. It's not with every industry, mind you, and it's subtle, but it's definitely happening. The majority of VP roles or even manager director roles that I've worked on that would be heading up a division for a company would not consider someone with more than 20 years of experience. Even though the person might be completely comfortable staying in a manager director, VP role within the required salary range and who could absolutely kill it in the position, they would not be considered simply because of the years on their resume. They wanted fresh blood, and that meant young blood. This leaves only the most senior level roles available to those experienced individuals in certain industries. You naturally have a significantly less positions available at the SVP, EVP, and C-level range than you do at the lower levels. It's how the typical corporate structure is composed, like a triangle. And the higher you move up the ranks, the less openings are available. This leaves a large talent pool that is left trying to find their place in the corporate hierarchy. I have increasingly had people with 20 plus years of experience talk to me about their struggles with ageism. Having 21 years of experience myself, I find that I'm in this category. I also find that I'm at an age where my kids are growing up, and the older they get, the more creative my brain is becoming. It's as if all those checklists to keep them alive when they were younger took up so much space that now that they're no longer there, my brain is firing on all kinds of new cylinders. I am so much more confident and self-assured than I ever was before. And trust me when I say I am much more competent now than I was 10 years ago. I can only imagine the additional time and energy that I'll have to devote to my craft over the years and what that will lead me to being able to accomplish. One thing I know for certain, I am only getting better with age. And I know I'm in very good company on this. I see it around me in my own generation and in the accomplishments that I watch happen in the later years of the generation before. To have any kind of age-based culture of any sort is insane. We all need each other, and we should be celebrated for what we bring to the table at every stage of life. I feel that over the years, we've slid into a youth-dominated culture that has resulted in somewhat of a dampening of the collective older spirit, if you will. I feel it's time for this to be rectified, and it's time to be reminded that age is not a barrier. Age is a ladder rung to continuously becoming a better person. If you're doing it right, you are learning and growing every year of your life. That striving to be better, that's what being alive is all about. When you stop that, when you stop trying to grow, that is when life can begin to wither. And our culture should reflect this. We should celebrate the continued growth throughout life and the successes that continue to come later in life. We have excessive 20 under 20, 30 under 30, and 40 under 40 stories, and that's fantastic. They should be celebrated. but we don't have nearly enough attention given towards people who are continuing to strive during the second half of life. Let's talk about these people. Let's highlight their stories. Did you know that the safety pin and the Sony Walkman were invented by people in their 50s? Or Lord of the Rings, the American Dictionary, and Little House on the Prairie were created by people in their 60s? The thesaurus came from a man in his 70s. Grandma Moses didn't even start her painting until she was in her 70s. The Christian Science Monitor was brought to us by a woman in her 80s. And the oldest person to do an Ironman is an 82-year-old woman who started running them in her 50s. I don't know about you, but I couldn't even touch an Ironman at this point in time. The solar cooker was invented by a man in his 90s. And Harry Bernstein didn't even start writing until he was in his 90s. He's published 3 books. How many have you published? Dancer Eileen Kramer put on her own dance show at the age of 100 years old. Amazing. I've never had a dance show myself. These are just quick examples of later in life success that we don't hear nearly enough about. And I don't know how to change the current culture. I'm definitely not in a position to be doing that, but I know it's past time that we gave this more attention. There's so much to learn from this time of life, which is why I started this podcast, to have a place where the people in the second half of their lives can share their successes and what they've learned. Hopefully, this will provide some inspiration for those who might be feeling some frustration with some of the blockades ageism may have created. My goal is to bring people together to really focus on solutions, share their personal stories and triumphs, and give hope while highlighting what we are all truly capable of. The podcast, called Fresh Blood, Killing It in the Age of Ageism, proving that new blood doesn't necessarily equal young blood. If you happen to have over 20 years of experience and are interested in sharing your story with me, please reach out. I would love to speak with you. And please feel free to pass the word to anyone you think might be interested. I hope you'll join me here in future episodes with Fresh Blood. Thank you. Thank you for spending time with us on Fresh Blood. If you love this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, or giving us a review. I'm looking forward to connecting with you again on the next episode.